Cerebral palsy is caused by an injury to the brain that usually happens during pregnancy, but sometimes it may happen shortly after birth. Cerebral palsy affects people in different ways because different parts of the brain can be injured. However, it always has some impact on the person's movements, and this is because the messages coming from the brain to the muscles are affected. Cerebral palsy is the most common physical disability in childhood, with 1 in 500 children born in Australia each year. One of the less common forms of cerebral palsy is ataxia. Ataxia means without order or incoordination. Ataxic movements are characterised by clumsiness, imprecision or instability. Movements are not smooth and may appear disorganised or jerky. The incoordination seen with ataxia occurs when a person attempts to perform voluntary movements such as walking or picking up objects. Ataxia causes an interruption of muscle control in the arms and legs, resulting in a lack of balance and coordination. Sometimes people have a mixed type of cerebral palsy. For example, some people have both spasticity and dystonia.
We call this the reference limb, which I've coloured here in red. Instead of steps or seconds, we measure time in terms of the gait cycle, which is a complete stride with the reference limb, measured from one heel strike, when the foot first touches the ground, to the next time the foot hits the ground. For a successful gait cycle, the reference limb must do 3 things, which we call gait tasks. First is weight acceptance, meaning the leg can't collapse when you first stand on it. The second is single limb support, meaning the leg must hold you up while your momentum is carried forward. The last is limb advancement. The leg must swing forward and get ready to start the cycle again. Like walking speed, step length, cadence, symmetry, stability, and the angles at the hip, knee and ankle joints.
Now, to clear the ground they do a compensatory bending of trunk to the opposite side and lift the leg. Then, they swing forward the leg in a half circle. If this pattern occurs in both the leg, it looks like as if a duck is walking. Let us see and observe.
So, little introduction about myself. I'm a medical doctor who's been practicing for the past 8 years, completed my education in India, worked there, and worked in Klein GH and Queen Elizabeth II in Kinabalu. So, patients with cesarean gait is usually associated with a few other conditions. Most commonly is cerebral palsy, pernicious anemia, liver failure, multiple sclerosis, and trauma to the spinal cord. Why do they seizure is because of the upper motor neuron lesion. They have this spasticity in their muscle, so their muscles will be extremely rigid, and there will be flexion in their ankle joint, knee joint, and extreme adduction and internal rotation of their hip. So basically your legs will be always contracted and turned inwards, and your knees will start joining in the middle, and you have this rudimentary seizure shape. So about consciousness of the patient, most patients are conscious. The gait means that the patient is able to walk, so the patient is fully conscious. But for example, patients with CP, they are not really aware of their surroundings. Most of them, even at 20-30 years old, their mental age is probably about 1 to 2 years old. There is no specific tools exactly available, at least in the government setting. There are availability of tools in the private areas, but most patients can't afford it. And even in the one we have in the government sector is basically modification of the existing products. And the biggest problem that patients face when they go and seek this kind of tools is support after the tools. So you need physiotherapy for this kind of tools, and when you have physiotherapy, you need at least two or three times a week for the patient to acclimatize to these products. And because 2 or 3 times a week, you'll have issue of logistics also, and government don't subsidize these products, whereas wheelchair they do. You can actually rent a wheelchair from Kebajikan, and most patients actually choose that option because it's more cost effective for them. There is no learning curve and just makes everyone's life easy. Okay.
I'm a GP with this TMB, and today we will talk about scissoring gait. Actually, scissoring gait is a condition where the patient walks with the legs crossing from right side to the left and the left side to the right. Normally, when we walk with the left leg going directly forward and the right leg directly forward and no crossing over. This scissoring gait usually happens in patients with cerebral palsy. This is a medical condition where there is brain damage, and this causes the patient's coordination, muscle stiffness, and they may have also mental retardations. And they find walking very difficult because their muscles are tight more easily. The muscles are always tighter, and getting up from changing position from the bed, from the chair to standing and walking, a difficult process for them.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Karminder Singh. I am a physiotherapist. I am working for Manipal Hospital, Klang. Okay, scissoring gait normally happens patients who actually are normally called as cerebral palsy. Okay, cerebral palsy, they can be from childhood and up the way to adult. Alright. So what happens in scissoring gait is, it's normal pattern, they walk in normal sequence pattern, but in scissoring, because how the word scissors, it will be crossed. So they will able to move in topple way. Each time they walk, their leg and thighs will be in cross mode. That's how we call it as scissoring gait. Scissor, it happens because, okay, first thing, muscle, there is few types, there is 3, it's simple. There is hypotone, hypertone and normal. Normal is like us, where our muscle can easily move easily. Hypotone, the muscle normally we can see in stroke one of it, where the muscle, when you ask them to bend, they can't able to bend. It's because there is no signal and the muscle itself are in flaccid, we call it. The third one is where normally for scissoring gait, they are in the hypertone. It means spasticity. When their muscle is spastic, it's already involuntarily contracting that muscle, causes the movement to be done. So in terms of a spastic patient, cerebral palsy or CP, when the moment they are walking, the inner thighs, or in specific the hip adductor, will be in spastic mode, causing them to be in cross leg pattern, and also their hip flexion and the hip will be in internal rotation. When you see that, when their foot not be in straight, they are be in inwards, so they will be moving in this way, kind of thing. Alright, most of the patients are unconscious, but as again, because of the effect that of the CP, they are normally having the hypertone. So when they are having hypertone, so they are normally involuntary movement. That means it is done just like that, without thinking or without day planning it. There are few tools and few ways. Okay, the normal conservative thing that how normally physio does is, as they are going through the exercises, when they are moving with a roller or with a walking frame, a therapist will assist them, and to break down the scissor gait, therapists will assist using their foot to separate them. That will be a traditional, which both the patient and therapist will be exhausted at the end of the day. That's first. Second thing is, let's say for the spasticity, normally some doctor prescribes Botox to reduce the what they call the spasticity, so that they are able to move better. That's one of it. Third thing, there is also few devices outside. One of it is Teratox, where they have to custom made to that patient to help them in moving better. So as I mentioned, Botox, okay, Botox again got few cycles. So when with the cycles, it must be precisely addressed to that particular muscle, and normally it has like the duration on how long it works. That's one of it. So that's a disadvantage as well. Second thing, if let's say any assistive device, that patient is from child going to become adult. So definitely that patient will be using what they call different tools because as their size is getting bigger. So in terms of that, a cost to the parents will be a burden. So what happening is with that mode, now this thing there will be like a wedge like that. We'll separate them so that they can walk like that. If when they walk, they'll be walking, separating their leg from there compared to doing this. So one time I said is with this fellow here and this fellow here, with another fellow that side, you can lock it maybe somewhere near 45 or like that, but the fellow is able to walk like a movable kind of thing. So this is the tie. So you put like this kind of thing. Then you can put like a velcro strap to hold it and close it out. Okay, down is the point here. Okay, so the thing will be here. Then this other thing will be here. Okay, so now in terms of that movable, the hinge will be in a V shape. With this thing here is with a 360 joint, a ball circle joint kind of thing. Okay, connected with that is this way you can lock it up in that grip. Over here, let me see now. You will have this floor cover, this side cover, then you have like a walkable brakes like that. So in terms of movable, he's still able to move because the thing is like that. So you can move front and back, but it's separated.